Is this on? Yes, it is. Okay, I'm a last-minute addition, so I apologize for this speech. I just made it yesterday. But wow, the standard of the speakers today is incredible, and I really got so much from it. And thank you so much for the poetry column, because I'm also from Clondalkin. I've been to Cherry Orchard many times. I probably know the horse. I definitely hear the scramblers. But I want to bring you back to Clondalkin, back to 2012 when I was 21. Because I was in my mom's kitchen on my own in a very dim room. And I remember looking at a very, very pink pill. And I remember when I was looking at this pill, just thinking about everything I heard that day in the clinic. I was told, Robbie, your immune system's quite low. You're going to have to take this medication straight away. You're going to have to take it every single day for the rest of your life to survive. But the other thing that I heard, which was worse, was from the social worker that day. She said, Robbie, be careful who you tell, because once you tell someone, you can never take it back. You know, growing up, I know that society is the most frightening and biggest bully there is. Growing up, I always liked boys, but society told me, that's wrong. You have to like girls to be normal, to be safe. So I hid myself in a closet. Society gagged me. It didn't allow me to be myself. When I was 18, I was finally able just to release that gag. I was finally able to be myself. I was finally able to kiss people who I wanted to kiss, the poor women, thinking about it. But then, one day, one fateful day in James's hospital, I was told society is rearing its ugly head again. That actually the safety of a closet is probably better than the repercussions of speaking out. Society told me that I was juicy gossip. It told me that I actually had something to be ashamed of. That I was unlovable, I was dirty, I could never have sex again. Oh my God, how could I do that? I could never be intimate again. And I believed it. But what was worse was that I was so afraid that my mum would think of me as dirty or embarrassing or disgusting. That maybe I won't get in relationships ever again, or maybe I don't deserve it. Society told me that, and I believed it. So I acted on it. I didn't tell much people. I told some family, I told some friends, but that silence that was supposed to protect me was suffocating me. It was wilting something inside me. I felt like whatever little fire was inside me was being snuffed out. This closet was not helping me. This gag order was not helping me. This silence was equaling my death. Then I started meeting other people in the HIV community. And when I was diagnosed, there wasn't one person out about their status, even though I was told there was thousands of us. How was society so effective at shutting us all up? How? So I started meeting them through social support channels. And I love POZ people. I suffer from this thing called POZ bias. If you live with HIV, I instantly love you. You have absolutely no faults. Now, I'm not saying don't get HIV for me to love you, I probably will. But what I am saying, if you do live with HIV, come be my best friend. But I started hearing all these stories of stigma they were facing. I heard people, they were spit on dates when they told someone they lived with HIV. I heard doctors disclose their status to their family members. I heard boyfriends blackmail their girlfriends saying, if you leave me, I'm going to tell everyone that you had sex with me and try to pass it on. I kept hearing these time and time again. And suddenly, my silence became a lot more than just me. It became something really, really big. Because how can we remain silent while other people are suffering? They're forced into closets by society. In my mind is, I didn't know how to stop this deafening silence. How do we break this cycle, right? So there's shame and stigma that shuts us up. And because no one's speaking out about it, there's continued ignorance. And there's government inaction, there's community inaction. And because people still think they can get HIV from kissing me, they're going to stigmatize me and shame me even more. How do we break this cycle? I realized, talking to all my friends in the community, that the biggest act of self-love and the love for my community was being defiant. Was do what I done when I was 18, remove society's gag order on me to fight for my community. I never, ever would have imagined in my wildest dreams that a few years later, we have an army of HIV activists who are standing loud and proud, working with the HSE on our very first nationwide campaign that you can see on TV ads, you can see on the back of a bus, you can see on bus stops all over this country. We were even on the first Six Nations. It's the only reason I'd watch the Six Nations. I was the Beyonce of the Six Nations, I like to say. But we could tell people no longer do we have to stay silent, no longer is there shame. We are human, we deserve to be loved, and we are loved. And also, we can't pass on HIV. The risk is zero when we're on effective treatment, and we can have kids without passing on. We stood up to society, and we are ringing in a new era of what it means to live with HIV today. But it only happens when you stand up to the bully. I'm on my 6th option of HIV treatment. Remember that big pink pill I was telling you? Didn't really work out for me. Either did the others. But the fact that I could have access to this 6th pill didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened because people stood up to the biggest bullies in positions of power. They fought against Reagan in the US and Mbeki in South Africa, the pharmaceutical industry. During the time when millions of people were dying, the Reagan administration didn't want to put money into researching medicines that keep me alive today. And Mbeki had said HIV doesn't cause AIDS. We had denialists in the government where millions of people were dying in their country. And when we fought hard, very hard for the pharmaceutical industry to make our drugs, they said, we're not giving it to the global south. We're not giving cheaper, affordable drugs to the global south. We just want to profit as much as we can. So we fought, we came together and we stood up to the bullies and we won. And today, I can thrive with HIV. I can thrive with HIV. Because people stood up to those bullies. Silence equals death is the motto of ACT UP. And it's the motto because we learned very quickly that millions will die when the government don't do anything during crises. Millions will die when the news cycle just breezes over these crises. Or worse, they feed into this divisive rhetoric. Millions will die when our collective silence gives permission to the government to do nothing. What we are seeing happening around us is the biggest global health catastrophe that I've seen in my lifetimes and what many of you have seen in your lifetimes. It is so hard to comprehend. We are seeing health clinics close down all around the global south. We are seeing tens of thousands of healthcare and community workers suspended or dismissed, not knowing when they can come back to work. We're seeing prevention programs collapsing, clean water initiatives stopping. We are seeing diagnostics, vaccines, medicines, food just laying waste in warehouses while we can't access our treatment. I was talking to a woman in Uganda the other day. She was told to go. She couldn't get HIV treatment for her child. I was talking to young people in Africa who are experiencing stigma. They're saying, why did God do this to you? Maybe they're trying to stop the plague. So it's already increasing stigma for my community. Sometimes just thinking about what's happening is just so overwhelming. I feel like I'm screaming in that deafening silence, like, how do we make change when the bullies are trying to overwhelm us? When they are so frightening to fight up against. And so I'm going to ask you to do something that I do when I feel like I'm going to collapse. On 3, I want us to take a deep breath, hold it for 5 seconds, and then we're going to let it out together, okay? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do we dare be silent? Do we dare allow Ireland or the EU do absolutely nothing while our friends in the global south are crying out for help and support? Do we dare bow down to the big bullies? People say we live in unprecedented times. That's a load of crap. We live in unprecedented times because we know how to fight back against those in power, and it's people power. Do we dare do nothing? Or do we fight? Do we fight back? Do we use our voice? Do we be defiant? We are asking you today to join the Restore Humanity campaign. We are people in Ireland who are going to tell the Irish government, you need to act now because the catastrophe means you have to act now. The EU has to act now. We have to show global solidarity. We can't just say it and then not mean it in time of crisis. That's what we have to fight for. So please sign up to the campaign. And I'm going to end on this. Our tagline is lead with love. And for everyone in here, in our work, leading with love might mean a different thing when we do think about how it motivates us. But for me, if I could go back to 21-year-old Robbie and what leading with love meant for me, it meant that using my voice, being defiant, and fighting like hell for my community like its life depended on it, because it does. Thank you very much.